تنال بقربه شرف الجناب.
After the two introductions of Kitabul Iman, we will now be looking at a number of topics in this lesson. Inshallah, we will be covering the detailed explanation given by the ulama of what exactly is Iman. The other subject which I want to mention in this lesson will be in regards to Shaytaan, Iblis. Now, if Iman means to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means to believe in the final day and to believe in the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He has written, and to believe in His angels. Well, the Shaytaan already believed in all of this. And not only that, Shaytaan also talked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. So if that means believe, that means Iman, then the Shaytaan has got more Iman than us. So what exactly is the definition of Iman? Is he a Muslim? Is he a kafir? Is he an atheist? What is the stance on this? Because we know that Shaytaan, he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him. He already knows that. He knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question him on the Day of Judgment. Shaytaan was one of the biggest abids, one of the biggest worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's read salah, he's prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he has belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows that on the Day of Judgment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question him. And he even has done dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, give me a life till the Day of Judgment. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he knows only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give him this. So he's done all this. So now, is he a believer? Is he a mu'min? Does he have Iman? This is the question. And if he has Iman, then is he classed as a Muslim? Because anyone who has Iman should be someone who's a Muslim. To really understand this topic and to know the stance of Shaytaan, was he a Muslim, was he a kafir, was he atheist, we really need to understand the concept of Iman. We need to go in some detail about Iman, of what exactly it is. And similarly, we will go into the topic of Heracules. What was his stance? By definition, could we say that Heracules was a Muslim or he was not a Muslim? So the first part of this lesson is going to be quite technical, as we're going to really start to look at the details of what Iman is, what does it consist of, and for this you really need to focus on this. You need to pay attention of what exactly is Iman. Now, if I was to ask you what is Iman, majority of you will probably say that Iman is to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in His angels, to believe in His prophets, to believe in the qadr. So this is Iman. But the reality is, that is how you achieve Iman. That is not actually Iman itself. The ulama have explained that the Iman itself consists of three things. Al-Iman huwa tasdeequ bil-qalb, which means that the first thing is that Iman is the acceptance of the heart. You must accept it from the heart. This is the foundation of all the belief. Mahal iqrari bil-lisan, with the acceptance of the tongue. Wal-amalu bil-arkan, and the actions, your outer actions, which are linked to your Iman. So these are the three things which consist of the Iman. So it is the acceptance of the heart, while saying the kalima with your tongue. You need to announce it. You need to say the kalima with the tongue. This is called iqrar bil lisan. Okay, so you must read the kalima with the tongue. It's not enough that you only have it in your heart. That is not enough. You need to do it with the tongue. And also the third thing which was mentioned is that your outer actions, they are linked to your Iman. This is the position of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that this is what Iman actually is. However, within the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there is a difference of opinion as well. One of the great Imams of Akida, Abu Mansur Maturidi, rahimahullah, he said that al-Imanu huwa tasdeeq bil qalb faqat. That Iman, it is the tasdeeq of the heart only. It is the acceptance of the heart only, not the iqrar bil lisan. You do not have to say it with the tongue. This is not something which is part of it. He says, فَإِنَّهُ شَرْط. He says that is only a condition to say it with the tongue. You don't have to say it with the tongue. But however, the majority of the muhaddiseen and the fuqaha, they have not gone with this call. They have gone with the first call which I mentioned. The third view within the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is the view of Shamsul Aimma Sarakhsari and Fakhrul Islam Bazdawi. They say that Iman, it is tasdeeq bil qalb, it is only the acceptance of the heart, mahal iqrar bil lisan, announcing your shahada with the tongue. So this is the only two components of the Iman according to Shamsul Aimma Sarakhsari and Fakhrul Islam Bazdawi. So these were some of the difference of opinions within the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And as I mentioned, the most authentic view is that the Iman is of the tasdeeq of the heart, the acceptance of the heart, and it is also the Iqrar bil lisan, to say it with the tongue, and the outer actions are linked to your Iman. So this is the definition of what Iman actually is. Now what we learn from the hadith of Jibreel, when the Prophet ﷺ was asked, أخبرني عن الإحسان, Allah ﷺ replied that أن تؤمن بالله, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in His angels, to believe in His prophets, to believe in His books. So this is how to achieve Iman. But the definition of what Iman actually is, which is mentioned by Imam Abu Hanifa and the majority of the muhaddiseen, including Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, is that it is tasdeeq with the heart, to accept with the heart, and to do ikrar with the tongue, and the outer actions, they are linked to your Iman. So now to understand the third concept which we mentioned, the third component of Iman, was Amal bil Arkan, meaning your outer actions are linked to your Iman. Now let's go on to the topic of Iblis, Shaytan. Now let's try to understand this concept of what exactly it means, Amal bil Arkan, and why is it part of Iman. So these three things we mentioned, and this is one of them. So we know Shaytan, he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him. He has certainty. He doesn't only know, but he has certainty. He has yaqeen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him. He also has yaqeen that the day of judgment will come. It's not only a matter of knowing, because even a kafir, they know about the Prophet ﷺ. When we teach them about Islam, we give dawah to them about Islam, what the Prophet ﷺ said, and we tell them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they know, but that is something different. And faith is something different. To have belief in that is something different. And both of these two things Shaytan already had. He knew and he had faith. And also he met the second requirement, which was Iqrar bil lisan. He actually said the Shahada with his tongue. He used to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. So he meets the second criteria of Iman as well. So now it comes to the third criteria, which is your outer actions linked to your Iman, Amal bil Arkan. So now we look at this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Aba wastakbara wa kana minal kafirin, that he refused, he rejected. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Iblis to do sajda of ta'zim to Adam alayhi salam, he refused to do the sajda. So this was the outer action of Iblis, which was connected to his Iman. So the third criteria, he did not meet this, because he did not act upon what was said to him. So Amal bil Arkan was not found, meaning his outer actions did not indicate towards the Iman. It did not indicate toward that he believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not just enough that you say it with the tongue and that you have it in your heart, but you also need to show it with your actions. And this is what is meant by Amal bil Arkan, that your outer actions are linked to your Iman. And from this ayat, we know that Shaytan became a kafir, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, and he became from the kafirin. So he rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's order. He had takabbur, he had pride, and he refused to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which then now made him a kafir. So this goes to show that it's not enough just to have Iman with the heart. It's not enough that you just say it with the shahadat as well, but you also need to act upon the hukam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or else the person will become in the same category as Shaytaan. He will become as the kafir. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from that. So that is the reason of why Shaytaan is classed as a kafir, because he refused. It was the amal bil arkan, the last criteria which he did not meet, and this is what made him into a kafir. Now in regards to us, when we are told by someone that I am a Muslim, then that is all we really need. We do not need to go into detail. Do you read your 5 times salah? Do you do this? Do you fast in the month of Ramadan? We won't ask that. That is between the person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can decide who is the kafir and who is the Muslim. But these are the signs which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, that a person who rejects his hukam and the person who denies the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he becomes on this category of the kafir. Now the ulama go into more detail in regards to this topic, and they've said, let's take the example of salah. Now if someone doesn't read their salah because they are lazy, and they know that they need to read their salah, and they do try but they are failing, and they know that I need to do it, this person will not be classed as a kafir according to the majority of the ulama. But if the person now refused this, and he refused this pillar of salah, he said I don't need to pray salah, then they have all agreed that this person now becomes a kafir. It's like Iblis had rejected the pillar of doing sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he was asked. Similarly is the sajda, the salah, when someone completely rejects this, that I don't have to do this, I don't believe in this pillar, then he also becomes a kafir. So one thing is that he becomes lazy in praying salah, he becomes lazy in fasting or giving zakat, then he doesn't become a kafir as long as he believes in his heart that he needs to do it, and he knows and he recognizes that he's sinful and he needs to do this, and he's not able to do it for various reasons. As long as he's got it in his heart and he believes in it that I need to do it, he will not become a kafir, he will become a sinner, he will be a fasik for not doing this. The other aspect of Iman is now when we start to look at the branches of Iman, which we will start to do in the next few hadiths, where Imam Bukhari rahimahullah will start to bring the branches of Iman, the other aspects of Iman. So like the hope, the emotional side, and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is also part of Amal bil Arkan, and this is what is connected to your outer actions. Because if you don't have the emotional side to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't have that hope, you don't have that fear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why would a person even do the outer actions? So this is all connected to Iman. So inshallah ta'ala we will be studying this in the next few lessons. Now going back to the story of Heracules, if you remember, we mentioned that he might have had Iman inside his heart. But is it possible that he was a Muslim? Now because he did not announce his Iman to everyone else, so he didn't do Iqrar bil Lisan, he didn't make his Shahada clear to everyone, but it may be he could have had Iman inside his heart. So according to Imam Abu Mansur Maturidi and many other scholars who have said that Iman is only of the heart and it is not of the announcing with the tongue, according to them, by definition Heracules could have been a Muslim. But according to the majority of the Muhaddiseen and Fuqaha, and this is also the view of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and Imam Shafi, and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, and Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, and the majority of the Muhaddiseen, they have all said that it consists of all three things. And by definition, Heracules could not have accepted Islam because he did not meet the second component of Iman, and that was by announcing his Shahada to everyone. So I hope that's clear to everyone and everyone understands now the definition of Iman. So that was the definition within the early Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So now I will mention to you some definitions given by certain deviant sects which used to exist. They don't really exist that much now, but the ideology might remain within certain people. So the sect known as Karamiya, the Karamiya sect, they said the definition of Iman is that it is Iqrar bil lisan, that it is only to say it with the tongue only, and it is not the acceptance of the heart. You don't have to accept Islam from the heart, you only have to say it with the Shahada, only to announce it. So this is a definition which was given by the Karamiya, and this view was rejected by the Imams of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Another deviant sect that existed was known as the Qadariya. These were those people who rejected the whole ideology of Qadr, the Taqdeer. They couldn't understand how is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the future. How is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written all the matters of the future? So they couldn't understand that. So they rejected Qadr altogether. They rejected one of the pillars of Iman altogether. So that's why they are considered not to be part of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. However, their definition of Iman was that Iman huwa ma'rif Allah, that it is only to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. And you do not have to do Iqrar bil lisan, you don't have to say it with your tongue, you don't have to accept it with your heart, and your outer actions are not linked to your Iman. So this was a view of the Qadariya sect, which don't really exist today, but however there might be certain individuals who might have this kind of a view. But in regards to the sect itself, it doesn't really exist in this time and age. Okay, so now going on to the second topic is it allowed to hide your Iman? Is a person allowed to hide his Iman in any circumstances? For example, Heracules, maybe he hid his Iman. Okay, so is it allowed to hide your Iman? Then the answer to this is that no, it is not allowed to hide your Iman unless it is a matter of life and death. Only if you are being threatened that you are going to be killed or your limbs are going to be cut off, at that stage it is only permissible for a person to de-announce his Islam. And the evidence for this is in Surah Nahl in verse 106, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Man kafara billahi min ba'di imanihi illa man ukriha wa qalbuhu mutma'innun bil iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whoever disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after he believed, except for those who were forced, whilst his heart was still at peace with the Iman. So his heart was still in the acceptance of Iman, but with the tongue he had to de-announce Islam because of the circumstances that someone put a gun to his head, or maybe someone was about to kill him, and at that time he was forced to de-announce Islam. And there is evidence of this in other hadiths as well, even though this hadith itself is da'if, but because it has been narrated by so much narrators of the same hadith, this now gives this hadith some strength, and it can be used as a form of evidence. Now this hadith has been mentioned in Bayhaqi in Sunan al-Kubra. It has also been mentioned in Mustadrak ibn Hakim in volume 2, hadith number 389. And this is the waqiyah, the story of Imaan ibn Yasir radiyallahu anhu. When the mushrikeen, they got hold of him and they did not let go of him. They continued to torture him unless he said some words against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it was only then they let go of Imaan ibn Yasir radiyallahu anhu. So when he came back, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he saw him and he said, "O Imaan, what has happened to you?" So Imaan bin Yasir radiyallahu anhu, he replied on that, he said, "Ya Rasulullah, the mushrikeen, they got hold of me and they were torturing me until I did not say some words against you, and I praised their gods." So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, "What was the state of your heart at that time?" So Imaan ibn Yasir radiyallahu anhu, he replied that my heart was content with Islam at that time. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that if they do that again, then do the same again. So from this hadith we learn that only when your life is at danger, it is allowed for you to say some words. But the ulama have mentioned that this is the lower level. The higher level is what we learn of the other Sahabas. The likes of Bilal radiallahu anhu, when he was tortured to such a level and they threatened to kill him, he still continued to say the kalima, La ilaha illallah. And he did not give up saying that kalima till they had tortured him to such an extent that he was about to die. And he did not give up saying the kalima. And we also have the examples of many other Sahabas who were tortured like this in the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is all connected to Iman. So inshallah ta'ala we will be studying this in the next few lessons of this chapter of Kitabul Iman.